Hi, this is Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith with the National Police Association, and this is the NPA report. I have a really terrific guest with me today. This man is he's a crime fighter. He is a patriot. He is smart. He's funny, and I think you're going to really enjoy hearing from him. Deputy Marshal Nate Silvester, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So, Nate, I think a lot of people are going to recognize your face because, in fact, we're going to show everybody how you came on the national scene recently. You decided to speak directly to basketball superstar and keyboard police warrior LeBron James, who loves to tell American law enforcement how to do our jobs. He also loves to tell us that we're racist and we're this. And he ended up actually kind of threatening one of our brothers from Columbus, Ohio PD. He tweeted out a picture of the officer who unfortunately had to utilize deadly force against a 16-year-old girl who was about to use deadly force against another child. And LeBron thought it was a good idea to tweet out that officer's photo with the text that just said, "You're next." And you, me, and tens of thousands of other law enforcement officers were really incensed by that. But you took it one step further and you decided to get on TikTok and make this video. Let's watch.
I'm seeing that disturbance call. Can you have LeBron call my cell phone right away, please? Thank you. Sir, excuse me. Can you put the knife down, please? Sir, no, sir. Don't stab him. 1 second. LeBron. Hey, yeah, it's me again. Listen, I got two guys fighting over here, and one of them's got a knife. He wants to stab the other guy. What do you think I should do? Why does it matter what the race is? All right, well, they're both black. Okay, but he's trying to stab the other guy. Deadly force is totally justified. Uh-huh. I see. Okay. Okay, so you don't care if a black person kills another black person, but you do care if a white cop kills a black person, even if he's doing it to save the life of another black person? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but then again, you are really good at basketball, so I guess I'll take your word for it. All right, okay, thanks, LBJ. All right, yeah, Michael Jordan's the GOAT. What? Nothing, I gotta go. Hey guys, sorry, you're on your own. Good luck.
So, Nate, when I first saw that, I thought, well, first of all, I thought it was hilarious. You did a great job.
Thank you.
But your mayor and your city council didn't find it as amusing as I did, right?
No, they didn't. Oops.
So, talk a little bit about what happened, because that did actually launch you into the national spotlight, didn't it?
Yeah, I did. So I posted that video, that TikTok, on a weekend after I had gotten off shift, and took a trip to Utah. And that weekend, that video really started to go viral. It started to make the rounds on TikTok. It started to make the rounds on Instagram and Facebook. And then I started getting phone calls and emails and messages from friends and family members, sending me links to like Newsweek articles and the Gateway Pundit articles, and Fox News was picking it up, and local radio stations and news networks around, Idaho and Utah were picking it up. And it was all very surreal in that moment. And when I returned so we had firearms training that following Monday with our department. And at that point, I learned that the mayor, had finally gotten wind of this, and he wasn't happy about it. Nor were some of the city council members. And I guess there was a meeting later on that day, and my termination was called for at one point, but my marshal, the good woman and supervisor that she is, went to bat for me and convinced the city officials that, the termination wasn't just in this case, it wasn't warranted. And instead they agreed to suspend me for a week without pay.
Well, and that sometimes happens, right?
Right.
If we make a mistake, people always say, "Oh, cops get away with all kinds of things." Actually, we're held to an extremely high standard. We have a lot of policy that we have to adhere to. And
Yeah.
as someone who has been in your shoes, where I have taken some suspension time here and there, most of us do.
Yeah.
We do it, and we deal with it, and we move on. And I do want to commend your marshal, and for people who don't know what that is, it's like a police chief.
Yeah.
I want to commend her, because one of the frustrations we have in American law enforcement now is there's quite a bit of weak leadership, people who leaders, quote unquote, who sort of give in to the whatever the woke outrage is at the moment. And your marshal didn't do that. She stood behind you, didn't she?
No, and it's actually pretty incredible on her part, considering uh, the enormous amount of liberal citizens that we have in Bellevue and the Wood River Valley. She was kind of in the lion's den at that point, but she stood her ground and had my back, and that's something that I haven't experienced before in previous agencies. And like you said, we're seeing it more and more all over the country, where officers are being abandoned by their administrators and in their departments because they cave into that political pressure that they feel, instead of doing the right thing. But she didn't do that. She stood her ground, and she knew that she was doing the right thing, and so I can't thank her enough for doing that.
Absolutely. And Nate, you said in that video what a lot of us are always thinking, and one of it is, why do celebrities and sports stars and this and that think that they can tell us how to do our job?
I wish I knew the answer to that question. I mean, we see the results, right? We see the outcome. Someone like LeBron James, he's got a huge following, right? Millions of fans, millions of followers. And I know that there's a term for this. I'm going to have to look it up, but it's that concept that, people believe celebrities are intelligent because they're celebrities.
Right.
All it takes is a little bit of critical thinking to realize that's not always the case, especially in the case of LeBron James. He's got absolutely no police experience or training at all. Yet every time we have an incident like the one in Columbus, Ohio, where Officer Reardon was, forced to shoot that young girl who had the knife, he tweets out something inflammatory, condemning, and in this case, dangerous, right? He put this officer and his family at risk, and people eat that up, right? His fans and his followers eat it up because he's a basketball god. He must know what he's talking about. And so it emboldens those people to fight with the police, to think that it's okay to resist arrest, to think that it's okay to ambush police officers. I don't think so. We've seen, since this incident, we've seen instances all over the country where officers are being shot at, they're being ambushed, and they're being killed while they're in uniform. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think people like LeBron James and other celebrities who decide to tweet out things that LeBron James tweeted, I think they have some culpability in those things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we've seen really since 2014 an uptick in officer ambushes,
Right.
Almost 150%. And we've just seen, very recently, just in the last month or so, we've seen officers, respond to calls as innocuous as an accident or a 911 hang up call, and they're ambushed. We're getting hurt, we're getting killed, we're getting attacked. And there's a lot of young people out there who are being taught that it's okay to run from the police. It's okay to resist arrest. Most
Right.
of these, quote unquote, controversial shootings that we keep talking about and that the media is talking about, if the person who had police contact would have just complied with lawful orders, and then if they didn't like what was happening, complained later,
Right.
we wouldn't be talking about any of this, would we?
Right. And that's something that I keep stressing to people. I do videos on TikTok and my other social media platforms all the time. And their argument to that is, well, resisting arrest doesn't warrant a death sentence. Well, we know that. Nobody said that it did. But when you resist arrest, you escalate the encounter, and sometimes bad things can happen. And an officer, if he or she feels threatened, and that threat is a deadly threat, they're justified in using deadly force. Okay, that's been confirmed over and over by courts all over the United States. But But we've gotten to this point where some people are made to believe that police officers have to back down so that a suspect can safely resist arrest and then just go home, and that's the end of it, right? And it's nonsense, but people believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's getting more and more dangerous, not only for law enforcement, but for our citizens that we're out there trying to help, trying to enforce the law.
Right.
It's incredible. So,
Well, in the
Nate,
media,
go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just going to say the media, they're very good at showing, most of, well, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of these critical incidents are caught on camera, whether it's a body camera worn by the officer or a bystander who's got a cell phone camera. But the media is very good at showing that incident without any context whatsoever, right? Without any background on the suspect, without any background on the call, whether it was a traffic stop or a call for service. They don't give you any of that. They just want you to see a police officer shooting someone, and that's it. You get 3 seconds of the footage. And of course, people are going to think, oh my gosh, that's awful. But if they had all of the information at their disposal, they would probably come to a much different conclusion.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, use of force against our citizens never looks pretty. And,
No.
but it is a necessary situation to be able to do the job that we have been tasked to do by our communities, ultimately by our politicians.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, police work can and will be violent eventually, because you have violent people, right? You have violent criminals and suspects who, when it comes down to it, and their freedom is at stake because they're being charged with a crime and they're going to go to jail, they'll fight, they'll run, they'll shoot at police officers, and it's our duty to overcome that threat and that force, and we have to do it with violence. And that's something that some people just can't grasp, but that's just the reality of police work. It's not that we enjoy it, but that's just part of the job.
Right. And we take it on willingly. We know that's part of the job.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to get into a fight. Nobody wants to use deadly force.
No, it's not fun.
Right.
And it's very uncomfortable. And, we don't want to be in that situation any more than citizens want to see us in that situation. But I mean, it's either we use violence to overcome the threat. Now, there's degrees of violence, right? It's not all deadly force, but we either use violence and necessary and reasonable force to overcome that threat, or we let the bad guy go and he wanders all over the city and the community, committing other crimes and victimizing other people. So pick whichever one you want.
Exactly. Well said. So, Nate, there was this small percentage of people that thought they were going to get you canceled, right? We're going to get rid of it. We're going to make sure this cop gets fired. We're going to make him go away. Yeah. And instead, not only did you gain some national fame, but you got a book deal. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, boy, that's, like I said, this whole experience from start until now has just been very surreal. Yeah, there were a small percentage of people who, they called for my termination. They wanted me canceled. They wanted my videos taken off the internet, just they don't want me to exist. But like I said, the outreach has been 98% positive, and especially in the area where I police in. I mean, tens of thousands of emails have come in support, and yeah, and the phone calls. I mean, the department's voicemail box has been full for the last 2 weeks. So it's been pretty amazing to see, people actually stepping up and realizing that, hey, okay, I support law enforcement, but what do I actually do? Well, this is how you do that, right? When there's an incident like this, like the one I'm involved in, send an email to the mayor or the city council or to the newspaper, or, show your support in that way. And it's been really incredible the way people have stepped up to do that. And in the wake of all the media attention that I've gotten, D'Angelo Publications reached out to me and said, hey, we want to talk to you about writing a book. And, I've, in the back of my mind for the last 15 years or so, I've thought about that, actually considered writing a book. And so I took a meeting. We had a discussion about it, wrote out the contract, and off we went. And it's so that the working title is Never Off Duty. Well, that's the official title, is Never Off Duty.
So one of your goals with this is to humanize the badge, right? If you will, is to show people that that
Yeah.
we're not just machines out there with weapons, that we're, you know, sisters and brothers and moms and dads, and
Yeah.
we're people, right?
Right. Right. And yeah, and that's what this book is going to help accomplish. And that was my goal ever since I started doing TikTok videos. It was an effort to humanize the badge, to get people to understand, just as you said, we're human beings. Yes, we're fallible, just like any other human beings, but we have a personality, we have a sense of humor, we have families, we have hobbies. We don't just activate at the beginning of a shift and then deactivate when we're off shift. Like you said, we're not Terminators. We don't go to work and in this very robotic like uh trance, I suppose. Some people have described it as that. We At least for me, and I know for a lot of other officers, my engagement or my interaction with people, I like it to be lighthearted. I like it to be friendly. Even if I have to write a ticket or take someone to jail for whatever reason, I can still be friendly and courteous and kind to that person while doing my job, right? And that's something that a lot of people don't get to see. And a lot of people who have opinions about police officers that have actually never had their own interaction with police officers. They just go off of what the media tells them or what a friend of a friend has told them. So that's the purpose of this book, is to sort of repair that disconnect that exists between law enforcement and the general public. And again, just to shed that positive light on law enforcement once again, right? Because it didn't always used to be this way. We didn't always find ourselves in the media being crucified for things that we're actually doing correctly and according to the law. It used to be that police officers were respected and that they were members of their communities. And so we need to get back to that. And that's what I want to accomplish with this book.
Well, I tell you, it's a fantastic initiative, and that's what we're trying to do at the National Police Association as well, is give people an outlet and an understanding of what we do and how to support us. And one of the ways that people support us is by displaying that thin blue line flag. I love when I'm driving around or when I'm traveling and I'll see people that are not law enforcement officers, but they have the thin blue line flag on their vehicle or on a t-shirt or displayed out in front of their house. And you, in that TikTok video, had the thin blue line flag
Right.
prominently displayed on your vest carrier, on your uniform.
Right.
Can you still do that this now?
I've been told that I can no longer wear that on my vest. And it's sad, and so again, I police in a liberal area, and the mask mandates are very strictly enforced where I work. And so I had a neck gaiter that I would pull up over my face, and that was also the thin blue line flag design that it had on it. And I'm no longer allowed to wear that either. And I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I'm not surprised that we've come to a point now where law enforcement or support of law enforcement is now a bipartisan issue. Right, the thin blue line flag has been used for, I think, well over 75 years to simply show support and respect to officers who were killed in the line of duty. And now it's being construed as some sort of symbolism of, or symbol of hate and racism and bigotry, when that was never the case. I wear the thin blue line flag because I want to honor officers who sacrificed themselves in the line of duty to protect their communities. That's what the thin blue line flag means. And it's baffling and mind-boggling that people are they want to cancel that because somehow showing your support for law enforcement is now a divisive issue.
Talk about what you're going to do and how generous the GoFundMe folks have been in reaching out.
Oh, it's insane. It's like they're just so this is one of the reasons why I'm so optimistic in light of the suspension and some of the negativity. But people have, like I said, they've just stepped up and they've been so generous and supportive, as is evidenced by the GoFundMe campaign. My friend in Utah, his name's Gannon Ward. We've been best friends since junior high. He heard of my suspension and he's like, that's awful. I want to help you get through that week. Maybe we can raise a few $100 to help you pay some bills. And when he created it, he originally started out with about a $10,000 goal, thinking that, that's pretty lofty, but hopefully people will see that there's a goal to meet and they'll be more apt to donate. And he was thinking, maybe we'll get $1,000. And so when I first looked at the GoFundMe site, that specific campaign, it had been live for maybe 2 hours and it had almost reached that $10,000 goal. And I was blown away. But then just the donations just kept flooding in over a matter of hours and then days. And now it's up over $500,000. And again, that's just one of those surreal things that I never, ever thought that I would ever see anything like that. So yeah, you're right. A portion of that will be donated to the First Responders Children's Foundation. Right? That's a organization that benefits children of officers who died in the line of duty. And then another portion will be used to create a nonprofit organization that will provide benefits to, we call them displaced police officers, right? Police officers who find themselves in situations similar to mine, who have been treated unfairly or mistreated by their departments or by other entities. And they can reach out to us, and hopefully, and if they qualify, they can receive compensation for a week's pay or a month's pay, or or whatever the case is.
That's a fantastic goal. Nate, where can people find you if they want to keep up with you?
So if you want to follow me on any of my social media platforms, on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, my username is Nate's Wilden. So that's NATESWILDN. On Facebook, it's Nate Silvester. That's SILVESTER.
Fantastic. This is just, I think you've got a real movement going here. And
well, I certainly hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna keep following you and keep up with you. Thanks so much for spending time with us.
Well,
and
thanks,
if you
Betsy.
would, yeah, thank you. And if you would like more information about the National Police Association, visit us at nationalpolice.org.
This year, over 50,000 law enforcement officers have been assaulted while on duty. A vast number of these attacks were filmed and uploaded to social media in the pursuit of likes and attention.
What they want to do is film you instead of like, what can I do to help this officer?
Together, we can change this disturbing trend.
If that individual would have hit the right spot, it could have been it for me. Last time I would have saw my wife, my kids.
I'm Mike Solon. Law enforcement officers need your support. If you see an officer under attack, then follow these simple steps in order to help. 1. Call 911 and give the officer's exact location. 2. Ask the officer if you can assist. If the officer accepts, then do whatever you can do to safely help. 3. If the officer declines, then start filming and be a good witness. It's time to stop filming and start helping.